A former member of Russia's Duma who was expelled for anti-Kremlin activities now has made a sensational claim. He says that Russian partisans were behind a car bomb which blew up the car of Daria Dugina. Daria was the daughter of one of Vladimir Putin's closest political allies, Alexander Dugin. Speaking in Kiev, where he's based, Ilya Ponomarev has alleged that the explosion was the work of the National Republican Army, or the NRA. Ponomarev has claimed that the NRA was an underground group working inside Russia, and the sole objective of this group was to overthrow the Putin regime. Now, no Western media has been able to verify the authenticity of these claims. Russian commentators have straight away blamed Ukraine and Ukrainian Secret Service for the attack on Daria Dugina, but Kiev strongly denies this. So on Crux Decode, what exactly is this National Republican Army? Does such a thing actually exist, or is it in the imagination of some anti-Putin activists in the West? What Ponomarev claimed in a broadcast on Russian television was this: that this action, that is the action on Daria Dugina, like many other partisan actions, have been carried out in the territory of Russia in recent months, and the sole responsibility of this lies with the National Republican Army, or the NRA. He was speaking in a 7 p.m. broadcast on a show called February Morning. This was on a Russian-language opposition TV channel which was launched in Kiev earlier this year. Ponomarev went on to say that a momentous event took place near Moscow. This attack opens up a new page in Russian resistance to Putinism. New, but not the last. The blast that killed Daria Dugina, the 29-year-old daughter of the Russian political commentator and far-right ideologue Alexander Dugin, both the Dugins, in fact, had been sanctioned by the UK as well as the US for acting to destabilize Ukraine. But that was not the only attack. There are now claims that partisans inside Russia were ready to conduct further similar attacks against high-profile targets. This includes officials, oligarchs, and a number of members of Russia's security agencies. Now, Ponomarev's statement was on the back of an anonymous release that was put out on the internet attributed to the NRA manifesto. This is what the NRA manifesto says, and I quote, "We declare President Putin a usurper of power, a war criminal who amended the constitution, unleashed a fratricidal war between the Slavic peoples, and sent Russian soldiers to a certain and senseless death. Poverty and coffins for some, palaces for others. That's the essence of his policy. We believe that disenfranchised people have the right to rebel against tyrants. Putin will be deposed and destroyed by us." Unquote. But Putin is not the only supposed target of the NRA. Other targets include corrupt businessmen, their homes and properties, and the employees of what they call power structures. Military cargoes and people who profit from Putin's regime will also be wiped out, according to the NRA. The statement promised that the NRA will not target civilians. So the question is, wasn't Daria a civilian? The statement goes on to describe Daria Dugina as a legitimate target and a faithful companion to her father, who supported the genocide in Ukraine. She was a voice calling for violence and murder in Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine, according to the NRA. But not everyone quite agrees with this assessment. Sergei Sumliny, who's a German political expert and who particularly focuses on Russia, told the Newsweek magazine that he does not believe that the NRA exists at all. He claims it could even be a creation of Russia's Federal Security Service, or the FSB. He says, and I quote, "I don't believe that the NRA exists. Why? Because Russia is a state with very strong surveillance and a lot of informants among all potential groups." Unquote. The NRA says in its manifesto that its goal is to overthrow and to destroy Putin. It has also warned Russian officials that if they do not resign, they will be destroyed. The organization has also declared its readiness to attack military facilities in Russia and called on Russia's military to lay down their arms and to refuse to carry out criminal orders. The NRA has also called on all Russians to join their ranks and raise the white, blue, and white flag of the new Russia instead of the tricolor. Wherever you are, fight like us, fight with us, and fight better than us. Let's cleanse our motherland from filth. Victory be ours, said the NRA statement. The NRA has also promised to free everyone who has been illegally sentenced by Putin's government immediately after victory. Meanwhile, the Russian investigative committee, which looked into Daria Dugina's death, said last week that it straightaway believed that the blast which killed Dugina near the village of Veliki Verzumi in the suburbs of Moscow was not an accident. The committee even went on to blame a Ukrainian Secret Service agent and her child of having planted the bomb which killed Dugina. It went to the extent of saying that the actual target of the attack was Mr. Alexander Dugin, and unfortunately, it cost the life of his daughter only because she, in an unfortunate twist of fate, changed cars with that of her father after a dinner outing. And that's not the only thing that's playing out on the streets. Russian forces in Ukraine, particularly in the south, around Kherson, are experiencing a Ukrainian fight back. Now, interestingly, this is not coming from regular Ukrainian forces, but from a growing number of Ukrainian partisans. This is a new development in this war. It echoes the experience of German Nazis who occupied France during World War II. At the time, large numbers of French partisans, particularly in the village of Vichy, had constantly harassed their German invaders. Partisan activity aims to absorb the attention of an occupying army. The aim is to slowly bleed its capacity as well as its morale. And what will eventually happen is that it will help prepare for conventional offensives that will eventually liberate that territory. And that is something that should worry Vladimir Putin.